A lotus is a flower rooted in the mud that rises through and above to become a beautiful bloom. This is a podcast sharing mine and other stories of how we've done the same, choosing to rise above our circumstances to bloom. I'm your host, Amber. Let's get started. So I'm here with my friend, Karissa. We've known each other for, a couple years now. Both of our husbands were in We Are the They. Your husband was in group 2 though, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think we met, which was your first retreat that you went to? Which Queen's retreat?
Very first one. So that's September 1 at.
Oh, duh. Yeah, no, I remember now because you came up to me and you were like, hi. And we had already been following each other on Instagram. And you came up to me and I think I was just like in this blur of all these women. And I just remember you being the first person to actually come up to me and be so excited. And you were just so sweet and friendly.
Oh, and you were pregnant then, right? Like you hadn't had your baby. Yeah. Okay.
I was very pregnant.
Yeah.
I think there was another girl there who was pregnant and we shared a room actually.
I totally.
Yeah. It was
You're always somebody that I always felt pulled to. Always.
Oh, that makes me feel good. Yeah. I think once we got talking, because I was thinking about it and I was building up to this interview and I was like, it's not like we've really hung out that often. It's always at retreats. And yet, especially I think at the last retreat that I went to down in Moab, where we actually got to sit down and have a full conversation. But I also feel like we've been friends for so long.
I do too. I do too. There's like just a resonance here. So anytime I feel like we're in the same space, it's just like, oh yeah, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. That's my friend.
Yep.
So I'd love for you to just tell a little bit about yourself. And then there are a couple topics I do want to touch on, but if you just want to tell a little bit of your background, how you grew up and where you are today.
Woo! Okay. Well, I live in Arizona. I was born and raised here, and I will probably always be here. We have really deep roots here, and we really love it here.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in a very strict, is that the right word? Religious upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And it served me for a very long time. It actually did. Like my system really needs safety and it craves safety. And as a young girl, I didn't have that a lot of the time. Not in the home I grew up in, but the experiences that I had. And so I can see how that system created a lot of safety. Just having like all of these big life's questions, having answers to those life's questions, or what I believed at the time was the absolute answer to the question, just creates a lot of safety, making all of these unknowns known. And so that was kind of the environment that I grew up in. I married someone from the same environment. We had a family. So I have 4 children presently. I have 2 boys, 2 girls. So my boys are like 22, 20, and then 17, 13 girls. And so we stayed in this same faith of origin up until 2021. We ended up leaving in 2021. And I feel like I have grown so much since that time, so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. And I feel like I've really stepped into my gifts and my power like so much faster. And so I am grateful for the time that we had in. Again, I needed that. But then it also got to the point where it was like, okay, that worked for me for a very long time. It worked for us for a very long time. And now it doesn't anymore. And that's okay. And that's totally okay. So rebuilding spirituality after that has been like a woo. It's possible. And I feel like it's necessary. And it's something that our souls really do crave. And we can resist that or try to all day long. But at the end of the day, we are spirit. Our nature is spirit. And we are always, a part of us is always going to want to come back to that.
Yep. I totally agree. I can definitely resonate with that. I remember, and we've talked about this before, I grew up super religious. I wasn't, when I was really little, it was just kind of always around. And then when I lived with my grandma, it was very concentrated. And I'm while there's a lot that I don't agree with now, I am so thankful for that time in my life. I think that it allowed me to just be a kid in my teenage years when you're already questioning who you are and figuring out everything and just growing into yourself. And so I think it allowed me to actually really do that. And so whenever people ask me, I have some friends who've left and they have a lot of what's the word? Anger towards the
Mhm.
religion and rightfully so for their situation. For me though, it's just I'm thankful for that time in my life, made me who I am. And leaving was like I talk about this a lot with people. Have you ever seen the movie by M. Night Shyamalan, The Village?
Mm-mm.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't
It's
think I have.
pretty good. It came out, I want to say like in 2005 or something like that. It's a pretty old movie, but um, it's basically where there's this village and they live like it's the 1800s and they don't know that there's this whole world in the 21st
I
century.
did see this. I
Yeah.
did see. Yes.
And the leaders of the group have a lot of fear. They use a lot of fear to keep them inside. And then they eventually escape and realize like there's cars and electricity in this whole world they never knew about. And that's how it felt when I left the religion was it was just like, there's this whole world that I know nothing about. And it's everything that I was told. It's nothing like that. And it was almost like a culture shock. And then, so learning the world and then figuring out my beliefs on top of it, yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's also been really cool to not, tell me if you feel this way too. It's been really cool for me to not have any boundaries on what I get to believe. Like I get to decide and I can pick and choose, and there's no like pattern or stencil that I have to follow of I can pick and choose and make my own beliefs out of all of it.
Yes, yes. And I think it creates when we have opportunities to do that, to choose for ourselves, like it creates so much trust within ourselves,
Mhm.
because it's like we aren't being told what's moral. We're not being told what's right. We're not, we get to really like experience something for ourselves and decide if that's a yes or a no
Yeah.
for us, not just this clear slate. But then I think we're also shown our own beliefs,
Hmm.
our own beliefs on what is possible, what is not possible. And so I think, especially, so presently I work as a medium. So
Hmm.
this is not something that I ever used to do before because one, I didn't know it was even possible, but more personal than that, I didn't know that was possible for me.
Yeah.
So when I look back over the course of my life, I can see that this gift has always been there,
Hmm.
but I couldn't even see it because I had a cap on what was possible. So even
Hmm.
though it was right in front of me, I was just, I don't know. I didn't even see it until it was like I was hit over the head by an energetic 2x4. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have a belief around this clearly that I have to change because in this one instance, this thing is happening right in front of me and I can't deny it. And so it's like, I got to create a new belief system.
Yeah.
So I think I would always consider myself a spiritual person. I always thought that religion and spirituality were synonymous,
Hmm.
and they are not. They're not.
Hmm.
There's tons of people that are religious that are not spiritual, and tons of people that are spiritual that are not even remotely religious. And
Hmm.
so, but leaving a formal religion, I get to decide what feels good to me. I get to develop this divine relationship, and there's no limits, and there's no terms, and there's no caps. And so it is just completely expanded in all of these ways I never thought possible. And it's just continuing to
Yeah.
expand.
Yeah. I think that's another thing too that of you kind of touched on while leaving the religion of learning that what my intuition really feels like. And it's not an outsourcing to anybody else but myself. I actually had, do you know Jesse Iacano?
Love her.
I love her so much. So she was on my last episode, and we kind of touched on this too of like, what's the difference between relying on a higher power and outsourcing your intuition of always being like, tell me the way, tell me what to do, what should I do, what should I do, versus you can trust your own intuition and have whether it's source or the universe or God or anything like that be kind of like a backup. It doesn't have to be like this outsourcing. But yeah, learning how to trust that. And it was kind of scary in the beginning because it just seemed like if I have infinite options, how do I know I'm choosing the right one? But then learning, ooh, I think I had a conversation I was about a year ago, a conversation of it doesn't have to be like this overwhelming thing. Instead, it can be like, oh, that means that I get to write the rule book
Mm.
and more of an I get to instead of, oh shit, what do I, and freezing, you know?
Yes. Yes. And I think for a lot of people at some point in our life, like we want someone to just tell us what to do. Just
Mhm.
tell me what to do right here
Make it
because the
easy.
thing that it takes to research or to ask or really fill into something and then make that choice for yourself and then knowing you are responsible for that choice and not like, well, she said that I should. So it's like I'm the one that said, like there has to be some kind of ownership that comes with that.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes we don't want to put the energy into it. So it's like, just tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah.
But learning how to trust yourself, develop that trust muscle. Like I didn't know what intuition was. That
Hmm.
was talked about. Um, that was a whole new practice to learn how to do and
Yeah.
connect that aspect of myself. But the intuitive part of us is connected to the divine.
Hmm.
And so when we are acting from our intuition, we are and acting from a higher place also. It's synonymous.
Yeah.
It really is. So it's not like I have to totally trust myself. I'm trusting myself, but I'm trusting this higher power that I'm also connect to, and I'm not outsourcing it. We're the same.
Yeah.
We're the same.
Exactly. I totally agree. I do want to touch on so with you discovering your gifts, and I remember when I was first getting to know you, and you had posted a couple things of everybody has these gifts. It's just a matter of listening to them again and it's like a muscle of fine tuning it. And so I was curious about what your journey has been like in doing that for yourself.
It has been a process over time, for sure. The first thing I would say, is really learning how to connect to your own body because that's the way the information comes through. Like we think of intuition coming from these higher places, these higher realms outside of us, but it's an internal experience and you have to be in your body to connect with your intuition. It's inside. And
Yeah.
so if our body is not safe to us, if it is not home for us, we
Hmm.
won't want to be there because a part of us doesn't live there.
Yeah.
So I experienced sexual trauma as a young girl, so I disconnected from my body very early on. And, I've heard the statistic, it's like one in every three have experienced it. It's more like one in every two.
Hmm.
So if you think about that many people walking around the world disconnected from their bodies, like how can you trust yourself if this isn't home, if this doesn't feel safe?
Right.
So really learning how to do that, which largely connects to going to those places within yourself from which you had to disconnect at an early age.
Hmm.
That means diving into the wound. We
Hmm.
spend so much time running away from the wound. It's painful. Who wants to do that? But like, that's where the wisdom lies.
Hmm.
And so, years of therapy, of therapy, of untangling that and unwiring that and which I still have to do that. I still need touch-ups. I still get triggers. I
Hmm.
still do. Like those patterns are old and they're very, very familiar. And
Hmm.
they our bodies. There's these codes that we fall back on all the time because they're familiar. But healing helps us rewire and it helps us rewire and create new codes for operating. So therapy, I would say, diving into the wound, especially if you have any kind of wound around sexual trauma.
Hmm.
Um, but then also, I got into yoga, and that just really helped me connect to my body.
Hmm.
Like it's much more than a physical practice. I would hear these mantras and recite these mantras, and like I had never heard them before. I didn't even super know how to say them myself, but like when I heard them and when I felt them, like I would start crying because like a piece
Hmm.
of me was recognizing truth, even though I didn't
Hmm.
consciously understand what was happening or what was being said. It was like I was starting to experience myself as my essence. I had always
Hmm.
identified with the physical me and how I'm physically showing up. And I was at the time a very highly reactive mother, very controlling. I needed things to be a certain way. I needed the house a certain way, the kitchen drawers a certain way. Like I needed things to be a certain way. And so I was really hard on myself. I
Hmm.
beat myself up all the
Hmm.
time. I felt like the way I was showing up in life was very inconsistent, incongruent with what was truly in my heart. And so
Hmm.
it, so much disconnect. And I would just, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And so when I started this practice of yoga, I've already cleared out a bunch of stuff going to therapy. There's this analogy like you buy this brand new couch and you want to take it home to your family room and you're so excited about it to put this in your new space, but the old couch is still there. Like you don't have room. You don't
Yeah.
have room to pull in any new truths if you're holding these old beliefs about yourself. So I had already cleared out a bunch of stuff, which created space for new
Hmm.
truth and for me to hold this new truth. And I was starting to experience myself like separate from this physical me. I was like, oh, like actually, like I'm really kind and
Hmm.
I'm loving and I have a really good heart and I am doing my best. Like I am
Hmm.
absolutely doing my best. And so it created so much compassion and so much grace for myself in a way I had never experienced before. So I would say looking at old pain,
Hmm.
finding a practice that works for you. It doesn't have to be yoga, but finding a practice that works, that speaks to you and helping you deeply connect to your body.
Hmm.
And then start to like, what natural gifts do I have? What natural abilities do I have? What comes fairly easily to me that I could develop? And let that be a breadcrumb and starting to go down that road to develop that gift.
Yeah. Was that, I think I've talked to a few people too, where when I bring up the topic of learning about your own gifts, and especially like for me, where I'm in that stage where I'm figuring out, I think I figured out what comes easy to me, but more just like tuning into those things. And so I have a couple of friends that when I bring that up, it almost makes them nervous. And I think old me would have been nervous about this as well, of inviting in bad spirits or that kind of a thing, and where you're a medium and you get to connect with people who've passed on. How was that ever something scary for you, or has it always just been this calming?
Absolutely scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you?
In the beginning, when I was seeking out mentorship, because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. It was coming in
Yeah.
so loud, and there was just an aisle of people on the other side lined up. Like, if you even kind of knew their person, they're like, can you, like they love us so much. They love their people so much, and they want their people to know that they're still here, even though they can't see them, even though they can't connect with them in the way that they once did. They want them to know. And so they're like, they see this open channel and they're like, can you tell her? So I was getting nothing done in my waking life because there was always so much going on in the spirit world. And I was just like, how do I do this? And how do I navigate this? And
Yeah.
so when I sought out a mentor, and I was just like, there's one veil, so to speak. There's one spirit world, and these spirits all coexist. And I know that. Is there something that I need to do to protect myself, to my energy, and I will say from my own experience, I've had a lot of differences of opinions. And I think this also speaks to my own mentors' belief systems. And so it's some mentors I have had have said, like, oh, you just love and light and da, na, na, na. And then I've had others say, like, no, you really need to make sure that you are connected to this light and that you are channeling truth. And So the new age answer would be, which I had a friend say when I asked her this question, she's like, "Do you want the real answer or do you want the new age answer?" I was like, "No, real answer." Well, then when she gave me the real answer, I totally dismissed it. I was like, nah. But I will say, yes, you have to protect yourself. Yes, you really, not all light is the purest light there is.
Hmm.
And you can be deceived
Hmm.
by information coming through. And some people aren't going to like to hear that and they disagree, and that's fine. But that's not true. And I would be withholding truth from you if I told you it's, I mean, it is, but like also, no,
Yeah.
you need to protect yourself. You need to
Yeah.
protect yourself. So for me, speaking very candidly, um, I connect to the Christ energy every single time I do a reading. And that was very hard for me in the beginning because I was like, Christ is religious.
Hmm.
Like, mm-mm,
We're not
that's,
doing
that's,
that.
we're not doing that. I left that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And so I have had to form a different relationship with the Christ energy.
Okay.
And it's a power that I know I can trust. And the light is so freaking clean. It's the cleanest light there is. And so for me, that's what I connect to every single time. And then I know that the information coming through is 100% truth.
Nice.
So,
And um, how has it been with I'm assuming that some of your family is still religious.
oh yeah,
How have they felt about
they don't ask
accepting
me
this?
anything. They don't
Really?
ask me anything. They don't talk about it. Sometimes I'll say a this or that and they just pretend like they didn't hear me.
Hmm.
So it's so hard not to talk about something that is so present in your life. And it's just
Yeah.
like, you guys knew these things that were happening. Like I want to talk about it and I want to share, but like they can't hold it,
Hmm.
not hold it. And so I can only share with people that really can hold it, and not a lot of people can because they have their own beliefs about it. And so a lot of it I just have to hold myself because it's like, well, I know what's really happening, and
Yeah.
I don't need you to know that it's really happening or believe it for me to believe it
Yeah.
because it's happening in real time.
Well, and I think that goes back again to the whole trusting your own intuition and not relying on other people to tell you if it's right or it's wrong. Like that's such a great exercise of accepting, hey, I know that this is the truth for me, and also in such a loving way, accepting that it doesn't have to be the truth for other people. Yeah.
Correct.
What about with your kids? How have they felt?
I try to be very open with my kids because I want them to know what I'm experiencing and I want to normalize the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more I can talk about it, the more I am just planting little seeds of truth within them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
not all of them can hold it. I got some skeptics in here. My husband's a skeptic. He doesn't get it, but also I don't get it either. Like consciously, I don't know. But I also know from here, this
Yeah.
is happening. I can't explain it, but it's happening. And
Yeah.
so he'll say, like, I don't even get this. I don't even know how you did that. I don't even know. But he's like, but I trust you.
Mm.
So there has to be some truth to this. So some of my kids are more receptive than others, but I choose to still talk about it anyways.
Yeah.
Even if I will share along the
Yeah.
way happening. And I don't care if they receive it or not because I'm planting seeds of possibility in
Exactly.
them.
Well, and I think that's beautiful because it lets them know that if they find that they have gifts or they come across somebody, not if they find they have gifts, if they decide to cultivate their gifts, or if they come across somebody who's realizing their own, they can hold a space for that. Because I think, especially, this is something that could be so, people can be so judgmental about and very skeptic about, and especially for young adults where again they're figuring out their way in life, that it's I think that's really cool that your kids are learning how to hold the space for people to show who they truly are, whatever that may mean.
Yes, I totally agree. And if, as mothers, we can step into our power and step into our gifts, claim our gifts, utilize our gifts, like we are modeling that for our children. And how much
Mhm.
sooner can they come into theirs
Yeah.
if we know what ours are and we can recognize that in them, and we're a safe place for them to explore and
Hmm.
practice and ask questions. And once you have things, you can see it in other people clear as day. Now, I wish it would have been really nice. It would have saved me a lot of time if people along the way could have said, like, oh, Krista, you have this. Oh, you could have. And they didn't, and that's fine because that was my work. But like I can see it in others so easy now. They can't see it in themselves, but I'm like, oh yeah, you this, you that, you. And then they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And so in my kids, I can already see, but then they can see within themselves. Like one of them has said to me, like, oh, I think I have that. And I'm like, you absolutely have that. And so it's
Hmm.
already opened a door, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and just being able to speak to things that we notice or witness within our kids. And so, like, I have said to my daughter before, I'm like, you're a really good reader of energy. Like, she's
Hmm.
spot on. And she's one of the one that's the skeptics, I will say, okay. A really good reader. So I'm just trying to plant things like using language, kind of backdooring truth,
Hmm.
you know, very guarded and skeptic, but I'm like, you're actually really, when you said this or this about this person, like that really ended up being so.
Hmm.
And so I just knew that this was going to happen, or I just knew that this. And so I was like, oh yeah, because you're psychic. You know, like you just, and she isn't resisting that as much as she once was because now she's like, I actually am, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's such a service that we can give our children that when we can own and claim and exercise and speak about, then it gives them permission to do that also.
Hmm.
And not disconnect from their gifts, like our kids don't have to disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disconnected, I'm sure you disconnected. And then it's this
Hmm.
process of like reconnecting. Well, like, what if they never have to disconnect? Or
Hmm.
what if they can, like, what a gift we're giving them.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that was the biggest thing is that for so long I was taught that any type of gift in that category whatsoever was evil. And so then it was like, well, I don't want to be evil. And so if I have this, I'm not going to acknowledge it, or I'm not going to put any meaning into it. Like, oh, the dreams are just silly dreams. They don't mean anything. And if they happen to come true, then that's just a coincidence. How funny. And then, so then even in this part where I'm accepting and acknowledging and leaning into it, there's still that little piece that for so long I was taught this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, that makes me question it even now of like, was that just a dream? It was probably just a dream, but I think I'm getting to the point now where there's just, I don't know if you want to call it coincidence. There's just too many things lining up that it's just so undeniable. And
Sounds to me, not coincidence.
I know. Oh, and I have friends who, like you, are so encouraging of like, no, that's what it is. It's okay to lean into this. That makes it this safe space. So again, I think that's like so beautiful that you're just laying that foundation for your kids of like, this is safe.
Yes. Yes, yes. Because I was taught that too. Like this, you only get this information from the devil. The
Mhm.
devil, yes, God doesn't do this. So, I mean, it just speaks to our own beliefs. And then we really have to bust that down. And if other people, I think we fear what we don't know and what we don't understand.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
100%. Um, I did want to rewind a little bit to you recently celebrated 19 years of being cancer free, which is so exciting. And I wanted to rewind a little bit and just touch on that a bit and how that's affected kind of your outlook on life and things in general. And just your experience through all of that, if you don't mind.
yeah. I was 23 I was almost 24, but I was married. I'd been married for 5 years. I had two little kids, um, 1.5 and 8 months.
Oh, tiny.
Tiny. And my baby was nursing baby, and it was just completely unexpected. We found it like in a very miraculous way. We caught it early, but because of my age, I had to do all of the treatment as preventative. Like I had to have, it was stomach cancer, so I had to have 3/4 of my stomach removed. And then I did chemotherapy and radiation as precautionary because it had gotten into my muscle layer where blood is. And so they're like, those cells could be anywhere floating. So it would be really wise to do this. And I did not even know how to process that kind of information, especially because like, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that I wasn't in my body in the time and that I like dissociated or lived dissociated all the time. You just don't even know what that is until you
Yeah.
like are in. Oh yeah, you can compare the two. So I was just like up here all the time, like I could not really process what this meant for me, what this meant for my family. I couldn't connect to any of the feelings around it because I just didn't even go to those places within myself. Like I was in a very much a survival mode, and that was a place that I just lived in forever until about 10 years ago because I just didn't know any different. So I was like, okay, well, this is just another thing. I'm just going to put my head down and we're just going to do it and we're just going to get through it and we're going to go back to normal. And I would just
Mhm.
keep, if I do this, I'll go back to normal. We'll go back. Well, it was never supposed to go back to normal
Yeah.
ever.
Well, and especially I think if you've already been existing in that state of mind and then being a new mom with two littles, even just one, but especially where you have two, you're definitely like that just is like double whammy survival mode of I just need to get this done. I just need to get this done. I just need to, and we have all these, I could go on forever about like being a new mom and the expectations that you put on yourself and all of that. So it just like reiterates that for you.
Totally. And my husband was building a business. And so, he's super neck deep doing that. And I'm doing all these household things and raising little kids. And so I just always focused on the logistics. Who's going to watch them? Who's going to this? Who's going to that? How are we going to da, 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 da? I never was like, how do I feel about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I feel? I didn't process any of that because I didn't know how. I
Mm-hmm.
really. And so that was probably like a 7, 8 month stint of the finding out, the surgery, chemo, radiation. Um, and mine was really mild. I didn't lose all my hair. I lost a lot of hair, but not really where anybody could tell.
Okay.
And it was so much like having to go to so many appointments. Like the radiation alone, you have to go every day for 30 days, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And where I was driving was 25 minutes away. And so just, finding a sitter every day and then driving there and going to the appointments. And I never wanted to ask for more than what was extended to me. I was a
Mm-hmm.
very prideful person. And what we needed was so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I only wanted people to help if they wanted to help, if that makes sense. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you're coming to me and say you want to help, then I will. I'm not going to ask you. But
Yeah.
if you want to come to me, say yes, because then I know you really want to. It's like me testing. So it was just, uh, I mean, obviously it was hard and it was so trying, but like it was not even the hardest experience of my life. It wasn't. Um, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about, mm, I always thought that and felt like I was an old soul, but then from there, it just even made me grow up even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like here I am, this 24-year-old doing things that most 24-year-olds don't do.
Yeah.
So it just changed my lens on what was important and what really matters and what am I really focusing on? Where am I putting my energy?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it gave me a lot of gratitude for things that I took for granted. I took my body for granted. You just expect everything to work. You just expect your
Especially,
liver.
yeah, especially at that age when you're in your early 20s, it's like we're unshakable.
And you just think you're invincible. And
Hmm.
you think that all these things will happen to everybody else and never to you.
Hmm.
And then it happens. And then you're like, oh shit, I am not exempt from any of these hard things. So they gave me all of this gratitude, but then you do just forget so fast, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever fall into the why me? How could this be happening to me phase of it?
With that particular situation, I didn't. I did later on. So about 9 years later, I had to have an emergency surgery because I had had obstructed bowel. So the place where they made the new stomach and attached it to the intestines had slowly been like unraveling over time, which was such a mirror for what was happening energetically in my life. Like I was freaking unraveling, and it just started manifesting on a physical layer also. So all of this is unraveling and then it's knotting on itself so nothing can get through. So they have to do this emergency surgery and they cut me right down the middle. And that was the thing that kicked me on my ass. That like literally was the stuffing. All the stuffing came out. So it was like anything I had ever tucked away in any crevice of my body was coming out. All of the pain, all of the trauma, all of the memories that I had suppressed my whole entire life were coming out. And that kicked me on my ass. So during that time, the 9 years later, I have two more kids by that time, two miracle babies, because the doctors had said I would most likely not be able to have any more children. So I have these two miracle babies. And so I'm a mother, young mother of four kids. They're all in school, and I'm down for 3 months, pretty much bedridden from this surgery. But it wasn't even just the physical stuff, it was the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff that I was experiencing. And it was there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know what was going on. I would go back to doctors and be like, I am not getting better. Like physically, I'm healing, but I am not getting better. I don't know what's going on. And nobody had answers. Nobody had solutions. Nobody had. And so that was just deconstructing everything in my life. And because it lasted so long,
Hmm.
absolutely, I was like, this feels very unfair. Like
Hmm.
I'm looking around at every single person around me, and the sun is shining on every single person around me and not me.
Hmm.
So, yes, very much in a victimhood mentality for a long time.
How did you get out of that? Because it sounds like for you, it wasn't just a mentality. It was that you were being slammed with so much stuff. Like everything was finally bubbling to the surface that you had to deal with. And I can just imagine like this overwhelm on top of day-to-day life. How did you pull out of that victim mentality?
I remember one day laying in my bed just crying because I had the energy to get my kid. I would wake up in the morning, get my kids off to school, and then that was it. I would crawl in my bed and I would be in my bed for the rest of the day. And nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. Again, prideful. And I didn't feel like anybody could understand. Like everyone's just living their best lives all around me. And I'm just like, well, shit, these people aren't going to understand. Like something's clearly wrong with me. I'm not going to talk about this with anybody.
Yeah.
And so I remember just like laying in my bed and just sobbing, and just crying to God and just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And then like something switched in me in that same conversation with God. And I was just like, oh, oh, I'm not going down like this. This will not be my forever. This is not how my story is going to end. Like, you have to show me how to heal. You have to show me how to get out of this. You have to show me what's going to help me get better.
Hmm.
And in a matter of 2 weeks, I was led to a naturopathic doctor and to yoga and to an emotional release therapist. And I really feel like doing work on all these different layers of my being are what helped pull me out. That is what pulled me out. It wasn't just going to be the physical layer, and it wasn't just going to be this the emotional layer, and it wasn't like I needed all of it. I'm an intricate being, and so are you, and so are we all are. And so
Yeah.
every layer needs to be addressed. And I feel like our work can be magnified, our healing can be magnified when we're doing work on multiple layers.
Hmm. Yeah.
A therapy thing, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Continue what you were going to say.
Therapy, I didn't even know I needed therapy. I didn't even know what I needed. I knew I needed stuff, but I didn't know what the fuck I needed, you know?
Yeah.
And so, family member, that had said, I had also had parents say to me, my own parents, my own mother, that therapy is for people that have real problems. Well, at the time, I didn't have conscious memory of my sexual trauma. So then I was just like, well, I don't have real problems, like I don't know. My
Yeah.
parents are still married, whatever. And so I had a family member who had struggled with addiction and never really could kick it. I knew she had sexual trauma, and so she clearly had problems. And so I'd heard about this therapist, and so I was like, "Oh yeah, you should come go to this therapist." So she's like, "Will you go with me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally." So I go with her. She's like, "Will you go in with me?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah." Okay, so we're in her appointment, and this woman who's like this 80-year-old woman, and she's a Reiki master and a hypnotherapist and a certified, I don't know what the hell any of that means, but she starts explaining her process and she starts saying things like soul agreements and soul contracts and where we were before we came to Earth. And I have no idea what she's saying. And I'm just like crying because I can feel the truth of what she's saying, even though I don't understand it, even though I've never heard this language. And so my family member turns to me, she's like, "Why are you crying? It's my appointment." And the facilitator turns to me and she's like, "I have a cancellation if you want to go next." Okay.
That
Like,
gives me chills.
I don't know if I could have signed up myself because I didn't even know I needed that. And therapy has such a stigma, like in my faith of origin, in my family, in the generation above me, like that paradigm, that belief, like therapy is for people that have real problems. What the fuck is a real problem?
Yeah,
Like, I feel like every single person in the world would benefit going from to therapy. I don't care if your parents were amazing or stuff happens in our childhood that makes us form beliefs about ourselves, and then we carry it throughout our whole entire life. Everybody would
exactly.
benefit from therapy.
Exactly. I totally agree.
So I stumbled into it by accident, but I am so grateful. It was an accident. I was absolutely divinely led to some
Hmm.
practice that created healing from the inside out.
That's so cool. I love that. And it's wild how I've talked to so many people, and I think I've experienced this also for myself of where you don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to ask for. I didn't even know that I needed to ask for anything. And yet the right thing falls into your lap or the right person comes across your path. We have friends in our circle that in conversation, people have been like, "How long have you guys known each other?" And we're like, "Oh, 2 years." You mean you didn't grow up together? Like the connections that we're forming because these are the people that we're going deep with. It's it's really interesting too how something that I've noticed especially lately is the processes that I'm having, whether it's through conversation or breath work or any type of session that I'm doing. It's wild how I'll be like, "Okay, this is my intention. These are the things that I want to work on." And then I have the process and I'm like, this wasn't, if I'm looking at it surfacey, this feels like it wasn't even related to what I wanted to work on. And yet down the road, I realize as I'm working through stuff like, oh, I couldn't have just gone straight to this. I needed to have this step and this conversation and this thing happen for me to even be able to come back and process the thing that I needed to process.
Definitely.
And so, like, all of those avenues and how they just all happen to show up for you at just the right time of like, I love the idea of if any of this, like if I had come across these people, met this group of friends, or any of these modalities 10 years ago, and maybe they were in my circle and I didn't even know, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to be able to hold it,
Totally.
and how it just all happens at the right time.
Yes. Yes. And like with the Reiki, I had heard about it years prior, but again, like we fear what we don't understand. And that wasn't in alignment with my religious practices at the time. So then I was like, oh my God, I don't know what that is. But I was also like, while I didn't consciously seek out therapy, because again, I didn't know I needed it, um, I was also in such a desperate state.
Hmm.
So that when the thing was presented to me, I was a yes, because I was so freaking desperate. I would try anything that claimed to make me better. I had
Hmm.
nothing to lose,
Yeah.
nowhere but up.
Yeah.
But years prior, no, I was not desperate enough. I didn't have enough of a catalyst or a driving force to compel me to try things that I would normally not try. And so it's very interesting because people probably think like I've always just been this like woo-woo person. No, no, no. But now I'm all about it because I've experienced it. And I don't talk from a place, I talk from my own experience. Like
Mhm.
I know this works and I am the proof in the pudding, you know?
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I love about the way that you present it is that obviously we're having like a very direct conversation about it, but even when we're the group settings that we've been in, you're not the person who's going up and being like, you need to know that it needs to be, you should look into this. And did you know, blah, 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 blah. And even with your gifts of people visiting, you're not walking up to people and being like, I just need, you should know that your mom said such and such. Like you're very respectful and loving about it. Yeah. And I think that that makes me trust you even more, especially growing up where all of that, so many things were just like, this is what you have to do. You have to do it this way. And if you're not doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. And you should know, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if someone, I don't know, it's just like the most gentle presence that you have. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I believe in people, and I believe that people don't need to be told what to do.
Hmm.
I really don't, because I know I'm no different than you, and you're no different than me. And if I can connect to a higher something, then so can you. And so my work is just, I just want to help people remember what's possible for them. And I don't know better for you. I don't know better for anyone. I just want to stir up something in you that will help you come back to that place of knowing within yourself. And I don't want to be told what to do, so I don't want to tell people what to do. You know, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That worked then, it doesn't work now. So
Yeah.
we got to do that.
100%. I
And if
totally
you
agree.
tell me something, or I immediately wall up.
Hmm.
So I want to disarm people. I don't want to people to feel like they need to put their armor on with me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I totally agree. I love that. I did want to ask you, so I usually ask this of everybody, but with this situation, I wanted to phrase it a little bit differently. Where you have discovered what works for you and been on this path of kind of unlearning and remembering. What is something, what are some words of advice that you would give to somebody who's maybe just starting out on this journey or just kind of dipping their toe in the pool of all of this?
I would say to follow the breadcrumbs or the seeds that are being planted in your heart. And I think a lot of people connect to their heart, but then also a lot of people feel like they can't trust their heart because heart is connected to feelings. And so maybe sometimes we have been deceived in our feelings or haven't been right in our feelings. And so then we cut off a part of this, like not really knowing or feeling if we can trust this part of ourselves. But I'm here to tell you that you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can. And it's vital to form a new relationship with that part of yourself. And there's parts that have been wounded in that, but like our work is learning how to live with an open heart and firm boundaries instead of a closed heart and just, you know, armoring up. And I really, really feel like if we can connect with that part of ourselves, there's seeds of truth planted there and seeds of truth for what we need next or what we might be guided to. And then
Mm-hmm.
ask like your highest self is connecting to the ultimate highest self. And I really, really believe that every person can get answers for themselves on what to do, but you also have to be willing to take action on the thing. It's not enough to get an answer. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. Take action on that thing and allowing yourself to be open enough to maybe trying something that you might not have before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just consider. Or, you know, if for anybody Bible-y person or whatever, but in the Bible it does talk about like the fruits and you'll know them by the fruits and what does this fruit produce, you know? Like, okay, so you try that thing, do you feel better or worse? Oh, you feel better? That's interesting. Okay, well then keep going down that road. Oh, you don't feel
Yep.
better? Okay, go this way. Like you'll know. So
Yeah.
like after when I went to that lady, that therapist for the first time, if on paper, if I would have seen all of her credentials, I probably would have been like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know what any of that means. That's weird
Yeah.
stuff. But like I experienced her and I felt different when I left there. So then I'm like, oh, there's truth to this.
Hmm. Yeah. I had a friend who said that her outlook on a lot of things is, especially with new things, is she's just going to keep going until it's a no. So trying new things. And then when it's a no, she knows like that ran its course and that's as far as I was meant to go. And then go down another avenue. And it's interesting how once you start going down a path, all of a sudden you realize all of these other side roads start opening up. And so maybe this main path isn't what you're going to stick with, but you couldn't have discovered those side roads if you didn't start this path.
Yes, yes. And can I also say that connects to all this I feel so strongly about is really get familiar with your own energy.
Mm,
Means turning off all of the outside noise. Like we live in such a highly stimulated world. We are
hmm
in constant need of stimulus, but all of that is noise. There's so much noise. But when we can really come back to ourselves, and that can be a scary place again, if in the beginning this doesn't feel safe to you,
hmm
when we can really come back to our place, to ourselves and turn off all the noise, we will find that the answers and the direction and the clarity really come in so clear.
hmm
So, so clear. So get very familiar with your own energy. And that's also one of my biggest lessons or suggestions in developing any kind of spiritual gift, especially when you're connecting with the other side. Like I am so generally quiet in here now. I don't have near as much chaos as I did. Is my mind still like busy? Sure, but not near what it was. But I'm so familiar with my own energy and I have enough calm in here that I can easily pick up when an energy isn't mine.
hmm
Which I had so much going on before. I didn't pick up anything, nothing. But now I'm just like, oh, hey, what's happening here? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that along with that, I keep going back to the whole intuition thing of it helps you tune into what is your intuition and what is somebody else guiding you, or not even a person, but necessarily like an outside influence, society, or anything.
Yes. And just like, how do I really feel about this? How
Hmm.
do I really feel about that? How do I, not what he said or she said or they said or this system or this, how do you really feel about that? You know?
Yeah. And one thing that I've learned too, especially more recently, is I notice that when I'm tuning into my own energy and tapping into my own intuition, it's so calm. And it's not this chaos of what should I do? Who should I listen to? What side should I take? Should I do this? Should I do that? When I'm in that chaos, like you were talking about, that's when I'm just like so disconnected from myself. But when I am sitting and listening to myself, it is this calm. And that's when I know, like, okay, I'm on the right track if it's this calm.
Yes. And even if you have to make a hard choice, it's always delivered in that energy.
Hmm.
So when we left the church, I knew we would be going against our whole community, our family, our friends, but I was coming from that place of that deepest knowing. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was making the right choice.
Hmm.
So even though I knew it was going to be hard, uh, like I didn't have tons of fear around it, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
when that came new, I was like, this is the right thing to do. So I'm going to proceed. You know, it's not delivered in like, you need to get out of there. You need to, you know, that's not how the information is delivered. It's really, it's soft, it's quiet, but it's also very grounded,
Hmm.
direct.
Yeah,
I love
totally.
that.
One thing too that I wanted to touch on that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but I want to talk about this is with your daughter Marley and what the journey with her finally getting an actual diagnosis how that's played into everything for you.
Well, she didn't have a diagnosis for 14 years. And when she started having seizures, that was a symptom that we were able to test in genetic testing to be able to find the genetic disorder that she has. And I'm really grateful that she did not have a diagnosis for as long as she did not, because I wasn't in any kind of place to have something so concrete. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have done it. It would have absolutely broke me, because all of the things in between almost broke me. And so I always kept this like shred of possibility, shred of hope that I could fix her, that I could help her catch up. I did not have the capability to hold something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it actually came in, it didn't rattle me at all, because I had already accepted her
Mm-hmm.
years prior. And I could not have done that without starting my own work, my own therapy, learning to accept all the parts of myself. Like, she was just mirroring that unhealed part for me. So then once I really started becoming good with me, I'm good. Then
Yeah.
I was like, then you're good too, just the way you are. You know, it's
Yeah.
fine if you're special ed. It's fine if you're behind in this. It's fine. It's all
Mhm.
fine. Great. It's fine. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm very, very grateful.
Of all the lessons through all of that.
Gosh. I learned so much, so much. And just the biggest lesson is really, here I'm trying to fix her. I just needed to fix me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're always like, you need to this, if you did this, if you, but it's like, oh my gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
need that. I need to. All the energy we extend this way towards other people and fixing other people, helping other people. Like, if we could pull all that back for ourselves, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
that would go out.
Well, and she's probably over there thinking like, I'm fine the way that I am.
She's fine. And I'm like, oh, she's fine. She's totally fine. But also, I'll say for the first 10 years, she was a daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing my work, my therapy, my all the things when she was 10. And something instantly shifted. And I know she could feel that I was starting to accept her more. It wasn't a conversation that we needed to have or anything like that. Like, she could feel it. And then she just started gravitating to me. And now she's totally mom's. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they can feel, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they're highly intelligent beings, even if they can't express it or communicate it, or if their physicalities don't show that they're highly intelligent beings.
Mm-hmm. It's like she knew that you were becoming a safe place for yourself, and so then you were a safe place for her.
Absolutely. Perfectly well said.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you, Amber. I feel so honored to be here and to share some of my experience and the things that I've learned. And I just love you and I admire you and I support you. I love the work that you're doing. I love all these new pieces of yourself that you're stepping into, all these gifts that you're claiming. And I'm happy to know you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and go leave a review on Apple Podcast. It helps me know what you want to hear and who I should have as a guest next. Thanks again, and until next time, keep living the life of a lotus.